Right, 85% of the things never happen. Let me tell you this in detail. Now, I'm not going to tell you some motivational one-liner thing that will really help you take all your worries go away, but what I'm going to tell you is all backed by science and also includes my own personal journey. Hi everybody, this is Dr. Samreen. I'm a PhD graduate from the UK and currently I'm working in academia here. My PhD research was about why we do what we do. So I'm really interested and intrigued by this topic. So we all have been in the situations where we have been literally going in the loop of worrying about ourselves. Am I doing enough? What if it doesn't really work? And a lot of those times, most of those things never really happen. But worry is a constant thing in our mind which just never goes away. No matter how many times we achieve things, no matter how great we are doing in life and the rest of it. Sometimes it feels like though, worry is trying to protect us. However, worry is that one factor which does not really let us do anything in life. Okay, let's start by understanding what really worry is. Now, we all know that how being worried feels like and how one really goes through different emotions when you're feeling worried. But do we know that how our bodies and brain react to being worried, especially when we are worrying not only for hours, but days, weeks, and years of our lives? So our brains are incredible, but they're also very primal in nature. So back in the day, worrying was our basic instinct. If we heard rustling in the bushes, our brains would get activated with the thought that there's something or someone going to attack us. So our brains would go into fight and flight mode. So what would our natural reaction be? We would either be prepping ourselves to fight this new threat or perhaps run away from it. And actually that response kept our ancestors safe from that threat, which could be lion, snake, or anything that could physically harm us. Cut 2. These days, most of our worries are not really life-threatening. However, they are mostly about our life decisions, about our financial situations, our relationships, our friendships, and basically figuring out our lives. Now, if you look at all these factors, they are not immediate threats to us, but our brains can't really differentiate. The amygdala part of our brains cannot really differentiate between the fact that if we are stressing about a presentation or if we are stressing about a predator who is going to attack us. And since we are getting stressed all the time, our bodies react to it as well. And cortisol, which is referred to as stress hormone, is released in our bloodstream. Now, if it releases on some occasions, it's not that bad because it's really making us alert and helping us to focus. However, if it's a constant happening that all the time we are worried and there's a lot of cortisol hormone in our bloodstream, it's not good for our physical or mental well-being. It aids to anxiety, depression, insomnia, weight gain, and even weaken immune function, which surely is not good for us. So the more we are worried, the more we are impacting ourselves both mentally and physically. Another problem which happens with worrying is that since we are worrying all the time, our brains are not really able to make the right decisions for ourselves. You ask why? It's because we are not really giving our brains enough space to think. We are just going in the loop of what if this happens, what if that happens, and in reality it's not even happening, but we are not really giving the space for our brains to think clear. So our brains are just busy in overthinking the same situation from every single dimension, which in reality might not even happen. So according to studies done by American Psychological Association, 5% of the things we worry about never actually happen in life. Still, we are spending all our time, emotions, and energy on solving those things in our heads, which actually in reality don't even exist. And in reality, worrying doesn't really solve any problems, but it just makes us avoid certain situations. It just makes us avoid people. And because we are worrying all the time, we keep on forgetting the good in our life. We keep on ignoring the positives in our life. Keep on missing out on feeling happy because there are moments where you could feel happy, but because you're worrying too much, you cannot see that with straight mind. And that time just passes by, you being worried. And to be honest, I'm not any different. And this is why I really wanted to make this video, because I have been in the spiral of worrying all along many times. And every single time that happens to me, I always question myself, what is really making me worried? After many years, I've been able to see when I'm worrying and what can really help me to come out from the situation. But it's not that easy and straightforward. And I'll tell you the story of mine. So when I was going to start this YouTube channel, it took me not only days, weeks, it took me years before I published my first video, because I have been worried all along about how would I do it. I don't know how to make videos. I don't know how to edit it. I don't know really how to go about this YouTube because I've never ever had that done in my life. Similarly, what would others think? What if nobody watches my videos? What if I just spend time and nothing really comes out of it? And unlimited questions on those lines. I would sit for hours thinking about those things. And interestingly, even if I would be doing other things, at the back of my mind, this whole narrative of what ifs, this is not gonna work, that's not gonna work, was just playing up all along. And you know what? Many times it gets so tiring because although physically I'm doing one thing, but mentally my mind is always busy and fatigued with this constant worry. And when I would sometimes tell myself, okay, today I'm going to take rest, I'm not going to do anything, be it my work or be it YouTube. And trust me, I would sit all day long on the sofa, but still at night I would feel extremely fatigued and exhausted. And only when I started reflecting upon that, and I thought to myself, well, I haven't really done much today. I haven't gone out, I haven't spoken to many people, I haven't done any physical or perhaps mental work. What has really made me fatigued? Only after reflecting it so many times, I realized that although I'm sitting quietly and I'm not really doing anything physically, yet my mind is constantly worried and my mind is constantly going in this cycle of all those what ifs and buts. And so, despite of resting all day long, I have been extremely exhausted. And about this particular story where I was really worried about publishing my first video was also about the fear of failure that was really holding me back because I always thought, well, what if I publish one video, nobody watches it? What's going to happen? What people would think about me? Am I not good enough? And the other thing which kept on worrying me was making myself perfect. I always thought to myself, I'll do this. Let me first learn how to make a video. Let me first learn how to do this camera thing. And I always thought to myself, well, although no matter how many times I'm trying, I'm not perfect. And I really don't want to put something out there which is not perfect. So my worry was a combination of what people would say, fear of failure, and making it all perfect. But finally, when I decided to hit that publish button, I cannot begin to explain how I felt because all those worries went away. And I literally felt that I've done something more tangible, which have taken that worry completely out of my mind. And now when I look back, I ask myself why I was so afraid, why I was so worried. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. And so again, proved 85% of the times, things never happen in reality, but we keep on overthinking about them. And that really leads me to the next part of this video, which is the science of taking action. So you have seen what worry does to our bodies. You also have seen my personal story. And if you combine the two, the only difference is that I started taking actions for myself. And I know it sounds very easy, but trust me, I have been through the cycle, so I understand when you're in the loop of worrying, it's not that easy and it doesn't really come through you easily to take that action. But you know what happens when we take actions? So if you imagine your brain in the loop of worrying non-stop, the minute you come out of that and you start taking actions, your brain stops that loop and it starts to think rationally, and also it comes to that problem solving mode. And actually this is also proven by a study at Harvard Business School, which suggested that when we start taking actions, it reduces our anxiety and also it really helps us to feel empowered and we start feeling that we have control over things. Because also when you think about being worried, most of the times we are worried about certain things because we feel that we have no control over the situation and therefore we don't know how the situation would really shape up in the future. The minute you start feeling that you have control over the situation and you start feeling empowered, your worry starts to leave as well. And there's no better feeling than that. Actually, this phenomenon has been proven by many studies as well, that the minute we start focusing on the now of situation and the minute we start taking those actions instead of being worried, the level of anxiety reduces in our mind. We start to feel more empowered and more in control. And that action doesn't have to be very big action. It could be very small action to resolve that problem which you're trying to think about all the time. Because if you really think about it, you can think about something one time, twice, 3 times, 100 times, 1,000 billion and whatnot. But it's all in here. Unless you don't really take out from your mind and you start doing something about it, it would not really resolve on its own. Also, what helped me personally, that I start writing about my problem, because when I see my problem in front of me on a tangible piece of paper, it gives me a different perspective on it. And I also feel, well, it's not as big of a problem as I think it's in my head. So I can resolve this. And then again, I start taking those actions, and every small action really helps me to feel empowered and more in control. And that leads me to the power of small steps. Now, when I've been saying that take actions, every single time we think, oh my God, I have to take this one big action. But what if I told you that you can break down that one big action into smaller tasks and then see how you go along with that? Going back to my own story, when I thought about starting this YouTube channel, thinking of YouTube channel as this one big task was humongous, was scary, was extremely worrying, and also was extremely daunting task for me. But when I started to break it down, okay, what do I need to do to start this YouTube channel? First of all, I need to know how does that work. Then I want to know what do I want to talk about. Then I need to know, do I have a camera with which I'm going to record it? So I started taking the small steps all along the way to reach this day. Similarly, when I did my PhD, and if you look at my PhD thesis, it's 80,000 word document. And if you would tell me on day one of my PhD that you are supposed to write 80,000 word document, I would never even try to pursue it. And many times during my PhD, I've been through the spiral of, it's not going to happen, I won't be able to do it, I'm not good, what if that happens, what if I get failed, and the rest of it. But I still remember the day vividly, on the day when I decided, okay, I'm going to break this task of 80,000 words into smaller chunks. Every single day, I would see the result. And exactly that happened. So some days I would write 500 words, some days I would write 100, 200 words, and I would read more. And by doing that all along the time, I was able to write my PhD thesis, defend it, and pass it as well. So never ever ignore the power of taking small steps, also refers to as progressive task reduction. So if you want to go for your next big job, first of all, break it down into smaller tasks. It could be, well, what kind of CV should I make for this new job? What kind of information do I need to collect for this new job? Who do I need to speak to about this new job? How do I need to prepare for my interview? So always break down the big task into smaller tasks and you would see the difference yourself. And finally, trust the process. So when we start taking small steps and we start taking actions with the thought that, okay, now I would not be worried at all about this, we think that success would come right away. But guess what? That never happens. Most of the times, it always takes a long time before you see success. And in those moments, you need to trust the process. You need to give yourself that time that I am doing everything which I can do in my own control. And as for my ability, I'm trying my best. And the rest, I just need to see how these things go. Because nothing happens overnight. You cannot be successful overnight. It always is a continuous process. And actually, it's very easy to get discouraged by not seeing results immediately. And that's where your real character shows up. That can you continue even not seeing the results immediately? And the idea of compound effect is all about that, isn't it? That you keep on adding your efforts every single day, and all those efforts keep on compounding until that one day when you really start seeing the results. But for that, you have to trust the process. You cannot get discouraged along the way. And I have so many examples like that in my own life, from my PhD, in this YouTube channel. I would publish a video on this YouTube channel and I would expect high views. But guess what? Sometimes it doesn't really happen. Similarly, for my PhD, I would write pages and pages of my PhD and I would send it to my advisors and they would tell me it's not good. So while sending my work, I would think in my head, well, I have taken 2 steps further. But when they would send me back, I already have taken 4 steps back. So this whole idea of success really gets muddled up in your mind and you think, well, how to go about it? And in those moments, you need to remind yourself, trust the process. You can never race against time. And for that reason, you have to be patient and you have to keep on working at it. Even if you're not feeling like it, even if you're worried, even if you're discouraged by not seeing the results, you keep on working on it and trust me, you will get there one day. Finally, don't get worried. Don't try to get this figured all out on day one. On day one, just take that one small step which would bring you closer to your ultimate dream. Take things out from your mind, make them tangible, work towards them, trust the process, and you'll get there. No matter where you are right now and no matter how big is your goal, the only thing which can take you closer to that goal is that one small action towards that dream. I hope this video was helpful. Until next video, take care. Bye.